Hello everybody, I am Piscean X, and in this video, I'm here to teach you astrology, like in most of my videos I am. So subscribe, like, comment, share my videos. The algorithm needs astrology now more than ever, okay? So this is something I've been working on for a while, with peace and love. This is a book I've been working on, and we know that astrology is a vast, and let me just change this size. So astrology is a vast and intricate ocean of knowledge, and you are seeking to dive into its deepest waters. So this video is crafted for the dedicated student ready to move beyond sun sign columns, and we are going to explore the full spectrum of advanced astrological thought and practice. We will traverse the sophisticated terminology of the craft, delve into the historical and mythological roots of celestial bodies, and learn to integrate techniques from diverse cultures. Furthermore, this guide will serve as your personal mentor for bringing this cosmic knowledge into your physical space, with detailed do-it-yourself instructions for creating professional-grade astrocartography maps and celestial charts at home. So, this is the title of this video is most likely going to be astrology in strange astrology in strange realities. If you will. Might be different. But our dedication is to the nocturnal wanderers, okay? The chart casters and the starstruck. May your curiosity never wane and your maps always lead you home. Here's our table of contents. Our forward is the cosmos within, an invitation to advanced study. So part 1 consists of the lexicon of the stars, foundational and advanced terminology. We already have 4 chapters, as you can see. For some reason the colors are like vastly off. So chapter 1 is the grammar of the sky, angles, houses, and hemispheres. Chapter 2 is the vocabulary of aspect from Ptolemaic to minor aspects. Chapter 3 is mathematical poetry, midpoints, harmonics, and part of fortune. Chapter 4 is temporal mechanics, a primer on primary directions and solar arc directions. Next we have part 2, which is the Wanderers, a historical and modern compendium. Chapter 5 is the luminaries, the sun and moon through the ages. Chapter 6 is the personal planets, Mercury, Venus, Mars. Chapter 7 is the social planets, Jupiter and Saturn. Chapter 8 is the transpersonal planets, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. Chapter 9 is the asteroid belt, archetypes of the in-between, Ceres, Pallas, Juno, Vesta, Chiron. Part 3 is the fixed and the temporary, fixed stars and minor bodies. Chapter 10 is the spike of fix, understanding fixed stars and their right ascension. Chapter 11 is royal stars and Bohemian stars, a catalog of stellar influences. Chapter 12 is the dark and the distant, dark moon Lilith, Sedna, Eris, and other trans-Neptunian objects. And dark moon Lilith, aka black moon. Alright. So part 4 is a tapestry of traditions, cross-cultural, astrological methodology. Chapter 13 being the Babylonian blueprint, omens, and the dawn of celestial observation. And chapter 14 is Hellenistic astrology, the foundation of Western practice. Chapter 15, the Persian and Arabic interlude, the introduction of the lots and the third house system. Chapter 16 is Jyotish, the sidereal science of light, nakshatras, and dashas. Chapter 17 is Chinese astrology, the 4 pillars of destiny, and the lunar mansions, Ziyu. Part 5 is the cartography of the soul, astrocartography. Chapter 18 is the theory of relocation, how place aligns the chart. Chapter 19 is mapping the lines, interpreting planetary parans and angular crossings. Chapter 20, we have DIY astrocartography, a step-by-step guide to generating your maps at home. Part 6 is the home observatory, DIY astrology visuals, including Chapter 21, tools of the trade, setting up your creative space. Chapter 22, crafting the celestial sphere, building 3D models and planispheres. Chapter 23, painting the night sky, creating artistic natal chart posters. Chapter 24, the astrophotographer's eye, capturing conjunctions and lunar phases. Our conclusion being the living sky, integrating knowledge into practice. Appendices, glyphs and symbols, planetary dignities table, fixed star tables by season, and a glossary of advanced terms, as well as a bibliography and an index. Now, as we get started with part 1, which is the lexicon of the stars, foundational and advanced terminology, well, before one can synthesize the complex interplay of a chart, one must master its language. Now, this section moves beyond the basic definitions of Sun and Aries to explore the grammatical structure of the sky itself. Now, if you don't know anything about astrology, this is your first video. Sun is exalted in Aries. Alright? Just so you know. Just a tip. So chapter 1 is the grammar of the sky, angles, houses, and hemispheres. So the horoscope, from the Greek horoskopos, literally our observer, is a snapshot of the sky at a specific moment. To read it fluently, we must first understand its fundamental structures. The 4 cardinal points, angles. The ascendant, AC, the eastern horizon, so this isn't merely the mask one wears, as pop astrology suggests, but the very lens through which the self encounters reality. It is the filter of experience, the body's immediate response to the environment. Its ruler, the chart ruler, becomes the single most important planet in the entire chart, acting as the personal guide through the landscape of life. The midheaven MC, the point directly overhead, culminating, it represents one's apex, contribution to society, and public standing. It is the peak of the mountain one is climbing. It's kind of like the twin to the 10th house. Now, the descendant DC is the western horizon, being the point of setting, and it signifies what we are drawn to in others to complete ourselves. The other in all relationships, it is the bridge between self and not self. The Imum Coli IC, the point directly below the feet. The Nadir, it is the root system, the foundation of the self, ancestry, home, and the most private interior world. House system is a philosophical choice. There are numerous ways to divide this guide into 12 houses, so each a philosophical statement about how space is experienced. The Placidus system, the most common in modern Western practice, is a time-based system that works well for higher latitudes but can produce intercepted signs. The Koch system is popular but mathematically complex. For the student of ancient techniques, the whole sign house system of Hellenistic astrology offers clarity and power, where the entire sign containing the ascendant becomes the entire first house. This method, favored by practitioners of traditional astrology, provides a robust framework for timing techniques and seeing the chart as a unified sign-based narrative. Chapter 2 is the vocabulary of aspect, from Ptolemaic to minor aspects. An aspect is a geometric relationship between two or more planets, measured in degrees of ecliptic longitude. They describe how the energies of the planets converse. This is the Ptolemaic quintet. Now, a conjunction is 0 degrees. Being the fusion, two planets walk into a room as one. And the nature of this fusion depends entirely on the planets involved. Mars and Venus will blend very differently than Saturn and the Moon. It is intense and focal. Opposition is 180 degrees. Being the tension, a seesaw, a projection, the energy exists in the other, requiring conscious balancing, is the basis of relationship dynamics. A trine is 120 degrees, the flow, an effortless highway of energy. It represents innate talent and grace, but its very ease can lead to laziness, a taking for granted of its gifts. A square is 90 degrees, the friction, the crucible of growth. It is dynamic, uncomfortable, and propulsive. Squares are the points of greatest tension in a chart, but also the points of greatest potential achievement. A sextile is 60 degrees, the opportunity similar to the trine, but requiring an active catalyst. It is potential, waiting to be actualized. Let's observe the minor and quasi-aspects. Modern and Uranian astrology utilize a host of other angles. The quincunx, which is 150 degrees, also known as the inconjunct, is an aspect of irritation and adjustment. It connects signs with no common ground, requiring a constant process of reorientation. The semi-sextile, 30 degrees, is a subtle developmental aspect, suggesting a slow organic growth from one energy to the next. Chapter 3 is mathematical poetry, going over midpoints, harmonics, and the part of fortune, or we can just call it, the POF. Alright, so let's talk about midpoints. In the words of the great 20th century astrologer Reinhold Eberton, a midpoint is the point of sensitivity halfway between two planets. The formula A and B, 2, reveals a third point. For example, the sun-moon midpoint is a powerful indicator of the core integration of the self. So A and B divided by 2, right? Representing where one finds balance between conscious will, which is the sun, and unconscious need, which is the moon. When a transiting planet conjoins this midpoint, it often marks a significant moment of personal clarity or crisis. It pretends the combination of stellar influences is the foundational text on this technique. Harmonics, developed by John Addy. Harmonics is the study of the chart using the principles of vibration and number. A fourth harmonic chart, for instance, divides the circle by 4, creating aspects of 0 degrees, 90 degrees, 180 degrees, and therefore implies the themes of structure, challenge, and foundation building in a person's life. It is a powerful tool for isolating specific psychological themes by filtering out other aspects. So chapter 4 is temporal mechanics, a primer on primary directions and solar arc directions. Predictive astrology is the art of moving the chart through time. Solar arc directions is the most accessible of the advanced predictive techniques. The solar arc is the distance the sun travels each day after the birth. For each year of life, we move all the planets and angles by that same arc. So for example, if a person is 30 years old, we move all planets and points forward by approximately 30 degrees. A solar arc direction of a planet to a natal angle is almost always a major life milestone. This is how fucking cool astrology is. Primary directions, a far more ancient and complex system. Primary directions are based on the rotation of the Earth after birth. They are time-consuming to calculate by hand, but modern software has revived this powerful technique. They are set to outline the fundamental arc of destiny, marking the most significant fated events in the soul's journey. Now next is part 2, which is The Wanderers, a historical and modern compendium. To understand what a planet means, we must understand what it has meant, and this section traces the thread of each celestial body from its mythological origins through its astronomical discovery to its modern psychological interpretation. Starting out with Chapter 5, the luminaries, the sun and moon through the ages. The sun, aka Helios, Sol, and Ra. Historically, the sun was the giver of life, the eye of God, the source of all visibility, right? In Babylonian times, Shamash was the god of justice and light, who saw all from his daily journey across the sky. In the birth chart, the sun represents the core identity, the central purpose, the I am that persists through all incarnations. It is the point of creativity and the conscious will. Its house placement tells you where you must shine, and it's also your vitality. And now we talk about the moon, which is Luna, Selene, Sin. To the ancients, the moon was the measure of time. The Babylonian god Sin was actually depicted as a wise aged deity, more powerful than the sun, for he ruled the night and measured the month. The moon represents the body, the memory, the instinctual emotional reactions. It is the pre-reflective self, how you feel before you think. In modern psychological astrology, it is the blueprint of the unconscious and the nature of one's deepest needs for security. In Dava Sobel's lyrical exploration, the moon represents lunacy, the thin line between genius and madness, the realm of deep feeling. And also, when we talk about the sun and the moon, we need to say the sun is inherently masculine, while the moon is inherently feminine. So just the yin and the yang. All right. Chapter 6 is the personal planets, going over Mercury, Venus, and Mars. So Mercury is Hermes, Nabu, the messenger. In Egypt, Thoth was the scribe of the gods, the inventor of writing and language. Mercury represents the cognitive style, the process of perception, and the way one communicates. It is not what you think, but how you think. Its retrograde cycles are periods for internalizing this process, for revision rather than initiation. Venus, Aphrodite, Ishtar, the goddess of love, but also of value. Ishtar, the Mesopotamian goddess, was a fearsome figure of both sexual passion and righteous violence. Venus is more than just romance. It is what you value, your aesthetic taste, your approach to pleasure, and your social currency. It describes the nature of your magnetic field and what you attract. What is Mars? Aries, Nergal, the red planet of war. Nergal was the Babylonian god of plague and destruction, a god of the underworld. Mars is the assertive impulse, the libido, the drive to act. It is how you fight for what you want. Its energy is raw, direct, and unadorned. In the chart, it shows where you will expend the most energy and where you may encounter conflict if that energy is not managed. All right, Chapter 7. The social planets Jupiter and Saturn. Jupiter is Zeus, Marduk, the great benefic. Marduk was the patron god of Babylon, who brought order to the chaos of the primordial universe. Jupiter is expansion, optimism, higher learning, and the search for meaning. It is the principle of abundance and faith. However, in its excess, it can be the principle of gluttony and overindulgence. It shows where we are lucky because we are naturally generous. Saturn, Kronos, Ninurta, the great malefic, the taskmaster, the lord of karma. To the Greeks, Kronos devoured his own children, a stark metaphor for the consuming nature of time and limitation. Ninurta was a god of agriculture and war who brought civilization through hard work and discipline. Saturn represents boundaries, responsibility, structure, fear, and the lessons we learn through hardship. It is the principle of reality as the great equalizer. It shows where we must work hardest and where we will ultimately build our most enduring legacy. Chapter 8 is the transpersonal planets, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. Now, these bodies, invisible to the naked eye, were discovered with the advent of the telescope and modern technology, and their meanings correlate powerfully with the eras in which they were found. Uranus, 1781. The discovery came during the Age of Revolution, American and French revolutions. Uranus is the principle of sudden change, rebellion, innovation, and individuality. It is the lightning bolt of awakening, shattering the old structures of Saturn to make way for the authentic, however unconventional that may be. Neptune, 1846. Discovered in the age of Romanticism, the rise of photography, illusions, and the widespread use of anesthetics, Neptune is the principle of dissolution, mysticism, compassion, and illusion. It blurs the boundaries of Saturn and dissolves the ego of the Sun. It is the urge to merge with the divine, which can manifest as spiritual enlightenment, artistic genius, or escapism and illusion. Pluto, 1930, discovered between the world wars in the age of nuclear fission and depth psychology, Freud and Jung. Pluto is the principle of death and rebirth, power, the underworld, and the collective unconscious. It is the phoenix energy representing what must be destroyed so that something new can be born. It shows where we hold power and where we are powerless, and how we navigate the process of transformation. Chapter 9 is the asteroid belt, archetypes of the in-between, Ceres, Pallas, Juno, Vesta, Chiron. So while the planets represent broad archetypal principles, the asteroids represent more specific nuanced subroutines of the psyche. Alright. So Ceres, Demeter, nurturing motherhood, grief, loss, and the cycle of life and death, speaks to how we care for others and allow ourselves to be cared for. Pallas Athena, wisdom, strategy, craft, and pattern recognition, represents the creative intelligence, particularly in the arts, and the warrior woman archetype. Juno, Hera, commitment, marriage, partnership dynamics, jealousy, and power in relationships, reveals what we seek in a long-term partner and where we might feel betrayed. Vesta, Hestia, focus, devotion, sacred sexuality, and the inner flame. She represents where we dedicate our energy with single-pointed concentration, the temple of our own inner space. In Chiron, discovered in 1977, this wounded healer is a comet asteroid body with a highly eccentric orbit, represents the core wound, the area of life where we could feel inadequate and unable to heal ourselves. Paradoxically, it is also the point where we can become a healer for others, for we know their pain intimately. Part 3 is the fixed and the temporary, going over the fixed stars and minor bodies. Chapter 10 is the spike-a-fix, understanding fixed stars and their right ascension. Unlike the wandering planets, the fixed stars appear static relative to each other. Their influence is powerful, direct, and often described as fated. To work with them, one must understand not just their zodiacal longitude, but their right ascension, RA, and declination, as they can be brought to prominence through parans, parallels of declination, where a star rises, culminates, or sets at the same time as a planet. A star conjunct a planet is powerful, but a star rising with the ascendant is an indelible mark on the soul. Chapter 11, Royal Stars and Bohemian Stars, a catalogue of stellar influences. The ancient Persians and Babylonians identified 4 royal stars that guarded the 4 cardinal points of the sky. Aldebaran, 29 degrees Gemini, The Watcher of the East, a star of integrity, honor, and eloquence, but with a volatile, martial nature. Gives a sharp mind, but also a potential for violence. Regulus, 29 degrees Leo, the Watcher of the North, the Star of Kings. It confers nobility, ambition, power, and success, but requires that one act with dignity and honor. As one astrologer notes, it brings down those who have dishonored their elevated stations. And Aries, 29 degrees Sagittarius, the Watcher of the West, often called the heart of the Scorpion. It is a violent, martial, and protective star, can bring great daring and leadership, but also a destructive, self-undoing nature. Fomalhaut, 3 degrees Pisces, the Watcher of the South, a star of vision, idealism, and otherworldly talent, is the most benefic of the four, but it can be too dreamy for this world. This human puppet realm. Alright, and Bohemian stars, a selection of 15 stars used in medieval magic and astrology, each associated with a specific planet and virtue. So, for example, Spica with Venus and prosperity, Algol with Saturn, Jupiter, and protection from beheading, Medusa energy. Chapter 12 is the dark and the distant. Dark moon Lilith, Sedna, Eris, and other trans-Neptunian objects. Dark moon Lilith, complex point, often referring to the lunar apogee, the point where the moon's orbit is farthest from Earth, represents the dark or repressed feminine, the primal, untamed nature that society seeks to control. It is the exile energy within us, the place where we refuse to submit. In mythology, Lilith was Adam's first wife, who refused to lie beneath him and was cast out of Eden. In the chart, it shows where we still rebel against oppression, often at great personal cost. Eris, 2005, the goddess of strife and discord, whose discovery and demotion of Pluto sparked intense debate in the astronomical community. She represents the principle of chaos that forces truth and authenticity. She is the apple of discord thrown among the gods, revealing what is hidden and forcing confrontation. Sedna, 2003, an Inuit goddess who drowned at the bottom of the sea. This distant object represents betrayal, survival, and the cold, deep isolation of the soul. It shows where we have been deeply hurt and where we must learn profound self-sufficiency. We're already on part 4, a tapestry of traditions, cross-cultural, astrological methodology. But really quick, we're going to scroll up real quick. So, section 4. Yeah. So, we'll do chapter 13 through 14. I'm going to wrap up, and then I'll come right back to it. So, chapter 13, out of like 24. So, chapter 13 is the Babylonian blueprint, going over omens in the dawn of celestial observation. So, as you can see, we're going over the origins of Western astrology, how they lie in Mesopotamia. The Babylonians were not interested in individual psychology, they were concerned with the state. Their astrology was mundane. The observation of celestial omens for the king and the kingdom, the Enuma, Anu, and Lil, a massive series of cuneiform tablets, details thousands of omens. If the moon is surrounded by a halo on the 15th day, the king will die. This was the raw data from which all later interpretive frameworks evolved. The introduction of the zodiac in the 5th century BCE was a revolutionary mathematical turn that allowed for the eventual development of personal horoscopy. Chapter 14, Hellenistic Astrology, the Foundation of Western Practice. After Alexander the Great's conquest, Babylonian astral science merged with Egyptian and Greek philosophy, birthing Hellenistic astrology. Figures like Claudius Ptolemy, author of the Tetrabiblos, systematized astrology to a coherent philosophical and technical discipline. This period gave us the formalization of the 7 visible planets, the aspects, and the houses as we know them today. It also introduced the concept of the ascendant rising sign as the primary focal point of the chart, shifting focus from the fate of nations to the destiny of the individual, specifically their natal promise. Chapter 15 is the Persian and Arabic interlude, the introduction of the lots and the third house system. So during the Islamic Golden Age, scholars in Baghdad and beyond preserved and expanded upon Hellenistic texts. They introduced new techniques, including a refined system of Arabian parts or lots, such as the POF and the the POS, so the part of fortune and the part of spirit, which are calculated using specific formulas involving planetary positions. And they also developed new house systems, contributing to the rich tapestry of medieval astrology. Right. Chapter 16 is Jyotish, the sidereal science of light, nakshatras, and dashas. So Vedic astrology, or Jyotish, is a complete, independent system with its own unique cosmology. It uses the sidereal zodiac, which is fixed to the actual constellations of stars, accounting for the precession of the equinoxes. Nakshatras, the sky is divided into 27 lunar mansions, or nakshatras. Each nakshatra, spanning 13 degrees 20, has its own ruling deity, symbol, and quality. The moon's nakshatra at birth is paramount, describing the mind's deepest conditioning. Dasha systems. Jyotish's primary predictive tool is the Vimshottara Dasha, complex system of planetary periods based on the moon's nakshatra. Provides a timeline of a person's life, showing which planets are ruling the roost at any given time, offering an unparalleled level of detail in predictive work. Chapter 17, Chinese Astrology, and the 4 Pillars of Destiny in the Lunar Mansions, Zhu. So Chinese astrology operates on a completely different axis. It is not based on the ecliptic longitude of the planets, but on a luni-solar calendar, and a philosophical system of balance, yin-yang, and the 5 elements, wu-xing. The 4 Pillars of Destiny, Ba-zi. The system analyzes the year, month, day, and hour of birth. Each pillar consists of 2 characters, an earthly branch, represented by an animal sign, and a heavenly stem, one of the 5 elements in yin or yang form. It is a profound tool for understanding one's destiny, personality, and compatibility, focusing more on the energetic quality of time itself rather than the position of planets in the sky. Alright, part 5. The Cartography of the Soul, Astrocartography, Chapter 18, The Theory of Relocation, How Place Aligns the Chart.